Hi, this is Jamie Davis from telecoms.com here at the NetScout stand and with OrbTV. So I've managed to pull Javier de la Torre from CARTO aside for a couple of minutes. How are you? How's your week been?
Good. I mean, it's been very exciting. I mean, Mobile Congress really hectic, but very exciting. It's been like a lot of interesting conversations, a lot of interesting meetings, very interesting technology too, and solutions that we've seen. Exhausted, but very, very inspired.
I'm not surprised. From what you were saying beforehand, it was quite a walk to get to the other side of the venue to get here.
We happen to have the booth on the other side. So actually, one of the things that we did was modeling how much time, how much you will have to walk if you get to see every single booth in Mobile Congress, and it's around 25 kilometers that you have to walk. So it's
so basically a half marathon.
It's essentially that, half a marathon. That's what it takes. So.
Yeah, I haven't done it. I'll be completely honest.
There you go. Me neither. No, there's a lot of interesting things going on here, and if you know what you're looking for, I mean, this is the best venue where you get pack so many meetings with telcos. I mean, the whole industry is fantastic.
Okay, so let's talk about you and CARTO. Sure. So what's your job there, and can you just tell us a little bit about CARTO as well?
Sure. So I'm Javier de la Torre. I'm the CEO and founder of the company. So we are a company started in 2012. We are a location intelligence platform. Our goal is to help organizations to leverage location data to improve businesses' process. And that essentially means, from figuring out where to open your new store, to how do you do logistics, where do you place a distribution center, how do you add your 5G network, everything that happens, in a location, we can, provide insights around that. And what we actually do is utilize the data, for example, from the telcos that they provide to get an indication about how people move around the cities. Okay. And that is the core part of the solutions, that we drive for doing optimizations and predictions. So processing the data, all the technology behind it, and helping organizations to optimize and predict businesses' process.
Okay. And obviously with IoT coming up, with people becoming more inclined to switch on their smartphones all the time. I mean, there must be an absolute massive amount of data that you're dealing with. I mean, how are you guys dealing with it?
Yeah, and that's actually the most exciting part, and also the most challenging. So traditionally, our industry, the so-called GIS industry, is being based on on working on a small subset. Yeah. Think about in IoT, think about the classical counting cars by putting those pipes on the roads.
Yeah.
You will get that data for a week in a particular street. Now we get that data every day on all streets in the city, all at the same time. So the massive amounts of data that now we have to process change entirely the way that we have to think about technology in this industry. So in our case, we started actually at the starting of that revolution. Okay. So we knew from the beginning that handling really large amounts of data, we call it location data streams. Essentially, it's streams of data that are always updating. Yep. It was a core requirement, and that's one of our actually core differentiators. We work with these type of data. And to do so, we have the capability to use cloud computing, obviously, and optimizing. There's a lot of, big data technology that is being available, and we actually adapted towards, the geospatial use cases around that. So we have a set of, open source components that, extend all this big data analytics towards geospatial analytics.
Okay. Well, sounds complicated.
It's not so much. It is the underlying technology. Obviously, it is complex. Anything around prediction now with machine learning and so on gets complicated very quickly. But the actual use cases is actually the other way around. So this is an industry where traditionally, if you wanted to figure out where to open a store, you will have to get a consultant to come and and do an analysis for you. But now, what we're looking at, is an industry that, wants to provide that service as a solution for anybody. And that means, making user interfaces and experiences, so that, the retail that is looking to open a new spot store in the middle of the city, can just do it, by itself. So that it can be many, many more times. So that's the other angle of our business, is how we take this complex data processing and make it seamless for the decision maker to utilize it and not having to go to a GIS department. In a way, think about imagine if you have like, the Excel department. Anytime you wanted to go to use Excel, you had to go to a department. That's just nonsense.
Yeah,
So the
yeah.
same happens, with maps and location. There shouldn't be, like the GIS, geospatial expert. It should be accessible to a larger audience.
Okay. And looking more specifically at the telco space,
Yeah.
I think I'm right in saying so Vodafone is one of your customers.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they using the tool?
So Vodafone is actually our customer, but also our partner. So in this Mobile
Okay.
World Congress, in fact, actually we announced the partnership, so where we liberate the location data that they get, from the consumers, and we make it available for these type of use cases that I was talking about,
Okay.
like site selection, tourist, advertisement. So we are a data monetization platform for them. But at the same time, obviously Vodafone is a very large corporation that can leverage
Yes.
from our software itself. And they use us in a very number of use cases. One that we are discussing here at Mobile Congress, which is very common to the industry, is used with the new availability of 5G. All these telcos have to plan how they're going to deploy this infrastructure. And Vodafone kind of like a strategy, like everybody else, is that 5G has to go together with 4G. So
Yeah.
you know the locations, but where do you start first?
Yeah.
So we help them in what we call this a smart type of capex, in terms of like how they can deliver like this new infrastructure first on the locations that are of higher priority, where they have more potential. So figuring out where the priority areas where they have to act, that's the type of information that they can leverage from our platform, and they do it themselves. So I think is a great use case that is very applicable to the whole industry.
Okay. And what other sort of partnerships have you got in place at the moment?
Yeah, so this is on telco. I mean, like the good thing, telcos tell us where people, and now with IoT also, where things are. The next is, like understanding, like also where people spend money.
Yeah.
So think about like we have with credit card processors, we have also agreements so that we get, like where people spend the money. Again, we don't know where you particularly spend your money, but we know like in this area, aggregate, there's this average number of transactions in certain things, right? So that's one part. So there's all these different location data streams. Think also about like weather, traffic. All these different layers of information continuously updated give us what we call a model of reality that we can use to then make questions like, what if I open here? What if I close this street? What if I open an antenna here? Those type of questions that we can solve by having a model that give us a full vision about where things happen.
I suppose it's like a jigsaw puzzle which never has any edges, because you're constantly finding new bits of information to add in and make the models better.
Exactly, and that is the exciting thing about it, that now with all these new sources of data, you don't even know what what is the next bit of information that will improve your model.
Yeah.
So traditionally, kind of like a GIS or an expert on this domain would say like, these are the 5 things that determine your business performance. Like your restaurant all depends on how many blue-collar workers are around. Now we actually can tap into all these data sources and let the software actually figure out what is the best, actually how to describe better our business.
Okay.
And that's very, very exciting, because you discover things that you never thought before. And that is where the industry is really just changing from just purely guessing and assisted by experts towards through machine learning, getting the system to actually come up with models that go beyond what we can understand.
Okay, and one final question. It's a bit of a blue sky thinker one. Obviously there are a number of use cases that are out there at the moment, but I mean, what are the ones that you're really looking forward to over the next couple of years? Like, industrial IoT, for instance, is just around the corner. I mean, what are the sort of the use cases and the trends which you are keeping a bigger eye on itself?
Yeah, sure. So I think obviously logistics is a really big thing. So we're seeing these huge chains with e-commerce. That's just transforming right now the way that we operate that. So that's a very big mega trend for us. All those delivery services, this last mile type of deliveries, is totally changing the way that we actually deliver services and goods. So that's a mega trend for us, and optimizing that. Ensuring that we deliver that, we can aggregate all these packages and so on, is going to be very, very important. I mean, we're going to see a lot of deliveries going home, and if we don't do that in the right way, either it's going to be. So that's one, I think it's very, very important. From my point of view, a lot of it has to do also with environment.
Okay.
So in terms of the challenges that we are facing with climate change and so on.
Yeah.
Efficiency like ensuring that, we are, like doing operations, like in a performing way is critical. We need to be sustainable, and sustainability is going to take actually be able to be performant. And that is, like we talk about logistics, but it's going to mean also obviously the autonomous car. So now, when you don't have to park your car because the car park itself somewhere else, how does this change the city? Now suddenly we don't need all this space for cars. So you can now rethink the city if you don't need to dedicate all that space for parking the cars. That's really, really exciting. Put that together with things like pollution. You think about like how do we like make cities like more livable. Where do we stop traffic, all this stuff. That's happening now. It's very, very exciting. It's changing the way that we think cities. I think that's another mega trend, together with, the autonomous cars and new mobility. It's going to totally change the way that we think about our societies.
Okay, perfect. Well, I really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes. Great, really good chat. And this is Jamie Davis signing off for OrbTV.